welcome to Simple Hobby Homesteading. Oh my goodness, can you see? There's a shadow. I'm gonna take my hat off. There is a horrible shadow. Welcome to Simple Hobby Homesteading. I think I already mentioned that. We are back to cut our soaps. So let's just get right into it and cut our soaps. Alright, so the soap that we did in the video is this one. So as you can see, it filled up about 2/3 of the can. And that is great, but you know, let's not be wasteful. So the second recipe in the original soap video comments is a little bit more oils, more lye, more of the goat's milk. And you can see it filled up the can almost all the way up. And so I would definitely use that second recipe because it makes use of more of this Pringles can, which is absolutely awesome. So now to get the soap, let's get our first recipe, which was that orange eucalyptus. The second one I did a cucumber melon, which was nice. So to get the soap out of the Pringles can, this is a one-time use mold. It's got this rim here that's almost impossible to rip on your own. So we just need to do a cut. Now you can either cut down here with a knife, or you can cut like this. It really makes no difference. So we're gonna cut like this, and it's just kind of cardboard feeling once you cut through it, but you see it rips really easily from there. Now in the actual Pringles can are like these kind of spiral divider lines, and so that's where it's gonna really rip along very easily. So we just rip this apart, and you can see it comes apart very, very easily, and our soap is in there beautifully. Look at that. And we have our whole soap mold right there. And it's a beautiful round soap. So we're going to get this top off. And it's been sitting for 24 hours, and so you can see it's a little bit soft. I could have let it sit there for a little bit longer, but it will harden up, which is beautiful. And we are going to get that end off anyways, so it's not that big a deal. It's been super humid here lately, and so that's why we've got a little bit softer soap. Now I like to use a cutting mat like this because it's got the measurements on it, which are really handy. And I also use a miter box like this when I'm doing a straight cut. And this is the straight cut cutter. You can get this at Michael's, Hobby Lobby. You can order it online. You can also use a knife for the straight cut, and it goes right into the slots of the miter box. A knife doesn't always fit, but this does fit beautifully right in the miter box slot, and it cuts that soap nicely. But I also love the crinkle cut of this, and it makes a really kind of fancy soap. So what I did is I made a little guide for my round bars like this. This is for a little bit bigger, but this is for the size we're going to use today. And I'm going to show you how I use that to make sure I get nice even cuts, because we sell this soap and so we want all the cuts to be even. And if you're doing it for yourself, it doesn't really matter all that much, because I don't think folks are going to care in your family. Alright, so I line this wood up against my miter box, and then I'm going to put my soap mold in here, so you can see it rests against the side of the mold. And the reason I put it against this miter box is just so it kind of stays up a little bit better. So I need just the end to get cut off for the crinkle cut, to make that first crinkle cut. We're going to put it against here, and I also rest the soap, so I rest the soap against the miter box on the side, and it's against the wood there. So as you can see, I just kind of hold everything, and it goes down just like this, and it uses the board as a really nice template, and I get a nice even cut of my soap, which is really nice. So now we have the end piece, so now we can start doing the lobes. And this is where, if you want to set up the exact measurements, you can certainly do that on your cutting board. So we are going to do about a full inch, about an inch, maybe an inch and a half, because these are a little bit smaller. I want them to be the same weight as my rectangle bars, and so they need to be a little bit thicker than my usual rectangles. So we've got that, and now we're going to do our cut down just against the board, just like that. There we go. And it works really nice. If you want to just do it freehand, you can totally do it freehand too. That's no problem. Let me show you freehand. We're just going to do, kind of try to get over top of it. And remember, we're cutting off that end. So you can totally do freehand soap too. That is easy. Looky there. It's just a little bit harder to get an exact straight line. And then this will cure like our other bars for 4 to 6 weeks. And then be ready to use at that point. So there, this gets you, that first recipe gets you 1, 2, 3, 4 nice big bars and 2 ends that you can still use, but they'll just have a flat side and then a curvy side. So that is absolutely wonderful. And you can always cut those in half if you want smaller bars as well. They'll cure faster if they're smaller. Now you can use this straight cutter, no problem. You can use a knife, no problem. But I'm telling you, this crinkle cutter, it just makes all the difference with the look. And I like how I feel when I wash with those bars of soap. It kind of gives a little bit of a massage feel to it from the bars. So I don't know, I just love it. And those crinkle cutters, you can get those at Hobby Lobby, at Michael's, all the same places that you get the straight cutters. And I have found, honestly, those straight cutters, the soap cutters, they cut better than just a regular knife, and I think they're $5. And so it actually is, if you're going to make a couple loaves, it's worth the money to go ahead and get that. Alright, so some of the things I talked about in that original soap making video, I'll kind of explain today. I will go a little bit more into some details, some information about things. One of them was super fatting. Super fatting is just simply any oils or butters left over after that lye mixture bonds with the oils. Any oil that has left over that there wasn't enough lye mixture to bond with. And so it's just kind of leftover oils that stay in the soap that really just go right on the skin. They don't bond with any of the lye, and so they're just kind of leftover oils. Now, why would you want that? Well, some folks really love certain oils and butters to be left on their skin after they shower or as they're showering. The common oils and butters that are super fatted are shea butter, mango butter, coffee butter, sweet almond oil, avocado oil. Those are all really skin-loving butters and oils, especially sweet almond oil, because it provides a really nice breathable layer on your skin that allows moisture to go in and out, but still keeps your skin really moisturized, which is phenomenal. And so, super fatting, when you're doing the soap calc recipe, and we'll talk about soap calc here in a minute, when you're doing the soap calc recipe, it asks you what percentage you want to super fat. Most soapers, for just their general soap, super fat between a 5% and an 8%. And that just means that 5% of your oils are going to be just left without bonding to that lye liquid. And so those are going to be your oils that just get left in the soap. Now, to make sure that the oils that you want to be left over and not bond, those are the oils you need to add after you've done your lye mixture. So let me explain. So let's say we want to super fat at 5%, which is a very common percentage to super fat at. Well, to make sure that your main oil that you want to be left over and not bond with the lye and be left on your skin after you're washing, you want to make it at least 5% of your recipe. So let's say shea butter. Let's say we're going to use shea butter as our super fat, or as our super duper fat. So we're super fatting at 5%. So let's go ahead and just add 5% shea butter in our recipe down below. When you do all the recipe oils, and I'll explain that in a minute, just remember we're going to do shea butter at 5%. So 95% of our other oils, olive oil, coconut oil, castor oil, all those other oils make up the other 95%. So what you do is you melt down all of your oils and butters like you normally would, and you mix your lye with your water, or your goat's milk, or your tea, or whatever. So you got your lye liquid and you've got your oils, except you keep out the shea butter. Do not melt down the shea butter yet, okay? So you have 95% of your oils all melted down. because that 5% shea butter is holding out. And then you have your lye liquid, your normal amount of lye liquid that is needed for the recipe according to soap calc. So then you go ahead and you mix those like we talked about in the video and exactly how we did in the video. So you mix those together and you get a nice light trace. And as soon as you've reached a light trace, which just means that you can't see any more oil on the top, you can't see any more streams of oil, it's all bonded with that lye liquid. That means you've reached a trace. So that means all of your lye liquid has bonded with all the oils, and it should have done so perfectly because you're super fatty at 5%, and so 95% of the oils will bond with 100% of your lye liquid. So what we have left is that shea butter, and that's just sitting over here, so you need to melt that down, and you can do that in your microwave or you can do that on your stove top, whichever you want. If you do it in the microwave, just be careful. You don't want to scald your shea butter, so stir it often. But you melt your shea butter down, and you have your lye and your other oils have already bonded beautifully, and it's at a light trace, so that means it's still very fluid and very liquidy, but there's no streams of oil, remember? So then what you do is you add your shea butter in at that point. So you're adding your shea butter after you've had everything mixed together. And so you add your shea butter in, and then you do another good mix. And the shea butter will disappear. You won't see any streams of shea butter or anything like that. It'll disappear, but it has not bonded with the lye liquid, and that's beautiful. That's exactly what you want. Same thing if you're using sweet almond oil for your 5%. Now, let's say you want to use a little more than 5% of shea butter in your recipe. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. So let's say you want your recipe to have 10% of the oil be shea butter. That's beautiful. Still, if you want your shea butter to be your super fatted butter, wait and hold on and have all the 10% added after. So what's going to happen? This is what's going to happen. You're going to have your lye liquid, your regular amount of lye liquid. You're going to have 90% of your oils, because remember we kept 10% of the shea butter out. We did not add that to our melted oils. So you add your lye liquid in with your oils, you mix them all together, and it'll look completely normal. Nice light trace, it'll look completely normal, no oil streams or anything like that. But behind the scenes, 5% of your lye liquid has not bonded to anything yet because there wasn't enough oil for it to bond with. It'll look normal, trust me, but there will be 5% of little radical lye liquids there that has not bonded to any oil yet because it needs 5% more of an oil. So that's when you add your 10% of shea butter in. Make sure it's melted down. Don't add a solid shea butter because it needs to be melted down. So you melt it down and add it to your liquid, which is, remember, that lye and the oils that have already mixed together. And then you do another good mix. And what's going to happen is those 5% of free lye liquid molecules that haven't bonded to anything yet, they're going to grab a hold of that 5% of the shea butter, and then they're going to leave the other 5% alone because there's no more lye liquid left, and there's no more lye molecules left to bond with any more oils. And so you will still get your 5% of shea butter super fat. So that's how the super fat works. So really, in short, whatever you want to super fat, add that after you've already gotten things to a trace, okay? And it can be more than 5% of your recipe, like I just explained. It can be more, in the free radical lye molecules will know what to bond with, no problem. And your soap will be beautiful. All right, so the other thing that I mentioned in our video was soapcalc.net. I said I got my recipe from soapcalc.net, and I had folks messaging me asking, you know, Soap Calc, is that a website that you get recipes from, or I didn't see recipes on it, whatever. It's a calculator for making your own recipes, and it's soapcalc.net, which is soapcalc.net, and it's simply a calculator that helps you develop your own recipes. So let me just kind of explain, and this is what the recipe ends up looking like. I don't know, it's hard to probably see. But I like to do the total oil weight instead of pounds. I like to do ounces just because it gives me a little more wiggle room as far as my molds. And my rectangle molds are all 36 ounces. They hold 36 ounces of soap beautifully as far as my custom regular batches. But this is where you can put your super fat percentage in, and you'll see as you go along that there's spaces for all these things for you to enter, and there's tons and tons of YouTube videos on how to use Soap Calc. So I'm not going to spend the time here to do it because those videos do so much better than I ever could. I learned from a lot of those videos and just using it, and so I'm gonna let you go to the experts there. But soap calc, it lets you add in whatever oils you want, and then it gives you ideas on the soap bar quality. The hardness, the cleansing, the conditioning, the bubbly, the creamy, iodine, and the INS. And so that's what I use, and you can hear a pitter patter, our dogs are in here. And so that's what I use for my recipes. I use soapcalc.net. If I find a recipe online or in a book or something like that I'm curious about and I want to try, I plug what they have, I plug it into soap calc just to make sure that they have the right lye to oil ratio and just make sure that it's going to be a decent bar. So I always take those recipes and I plug them into soap calc. So I really appreciate you guys joining in with me. I've got a dog licking the back of my calves. Ugh. I really appreciate you guys joining me on the soap making journey. We have a blast with it. There are so many bars of soap curing in my basement right now. There's a ton. We keep them in our linen closet. So our house always smells like, my husband say, maybe a Moroccan bazaar. It's just a very mixed cornucopia of scents, which I guess is a good thing. I don't know. There's a couple soaps I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, so that's how we cut, and that's how I figure out my recipes, and I think that's it. So you guys have a great day. Do what you can, put what you have wherever you are, and we will see you there. Bye-bye. But two things I mentioned in that video that I said we'll talk more about later. One of them was super fatting, and the other was, what was the other one? Did you do a pan? So that's that. I really appreciate you guys. So I'll wait till you're done, buddy. Your drinking can be annoying.